One thing that is known about Andrew Bartha is that he goes ahead to inspect very many players, agree personal terms with them, and then chooses the best of the best that fits the camp of Arsenal. And this time around, this story is coming in through from a credible source, and it's one of the biggest French outlets, and I always respect it. And they're telling us that Arsenal are interested in Mason Greenwood, formerly at Manchester United, and now here we come to say to it that the player comes in through to obviously return to the Premier League. Because his return to the Premier League is obviously United denied him a return to the Premier League, and they sold him, because of the PR. But obviously, Arsenal have gone ahead to pick interest in Mason Greenwood. Smash like button, comment, and share. If at all watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. We are powered by Think Landscaping, a company that designs, plans, and transform your outdoor spaces into the ones you want them to be. Now, your compound, gardens, and so on and so forth, obviously, they'll obviously make them world class. And then later, they will obviously help you maintain them. Every time you feel like you want to trim your green grass, your green decorations in there for you, plantations around your compound, these will be just one call away. So call them on those numbers and WhatsApp them on those numbers, and you'll thank Rokani David later. Second video of the day coming in through right about now. So we head to this story coming in through from a side known as L'Equipe, and L'Equipe is the most credible source outside France. Are we together? And that's what they are really telling us, that the club of Arsenal is interested in signing Mason Greenwood. Arsenal and Spurs are reportedly monitoring Mason Greenwood ahead of a potential move. The forward is believed to be valued around 80 million euros. Now, Mason Greenwood, no one doubts his quality. He's Premier League proven, and he scored against very many teams in there. At the age of 17, the lad went ahead to obviously score very many goals in his debut season at the club of Man United. That was in 2019-2020, and he really went ahead to show his quality in there for you. Now, Arsenal, do love what we call versatility players, and him being a dynamic player, he can play as a left forward, right forward, and a center forward. And Arsenal is looking for all those kinds of players. And I tell you, him being English in nature, Arsenal might be picking huge interest in the player because they believe that he can obviously come up and obviously transform lots of the attacks for the club of Arsenal. And I think when you look at the club of Arsenal, I think they are really looking out of those players that can obviously come and really haunt PSG, because they've beaten Bayern Munich, they've beaten the best teams in the world, but one team has obviously gone ahead to stand in their way, and that PSG. Now, Mason Greenwood is playing for Marseille. He's playing for Marseille, and they've gone ahead to watch his clips when he's obviously versing a team known as PSG, and he has gone ahead to obviously terrorize them. And they do believe that he can obviously do that, at the club known as Arsenal. And he's a press-resistant player. He's a clinical finisher in there for you. And if at all you want to obviously see how good he is, the lad has gone ahead to obviously take off very many players in that game of PSG and obviously sat them down. So I do believe that with that yardstick, Arsenal are all in for him because of that. They not eat that. He's still young, and he can come up and obviously do the needful. Even if you want him to lead the line for the club of Arsenal, he can. He has a very good holder play, and the way he really cuts inside, his shot power is really very, very good. And by the way, he shoots with both of his feet. Both of his foot. He shoots with both of his foot, and I tell you, he's the lad you'll obviously ever look at and really understand that you have obviously gone ahead to get in a player. However much I support Man United, I never agreed with the board for not bringing back Mason Greenwood. That is it. Never did I agree with their decision to not get back this guy, because why didn't we keep him? Because this guy, star will keep shining. And let me tell you this, if he ever comes back in the Premier League, I tell you, I tell you, you will obviously see how good this guy is. So the price is 80 million euros, and I think United has like a 30 to 40% sell-on clause because they took him on a cheap, and they took him for like, is it 30 million euros in there? Now, that means if they sell him 80, they first take off the 30 they pay to Man United, and they'll keep the 50. Then the 50 is the profit, and that's where United comes in through and says, all right, we're having 40% on the sell-on clause, sorry, on the profit, and that is like 20 million euros. And they would have gone to get in 50 million euros of pure profit from Mason Greenwood. And that is really great for Mason Greenwood and Manchester United. But in this summer transfer window, as a fan of United, you would obviously want that to happen, that let Arsenal sign him, pay the 80 million euros and get him in the Premier League, such that United gets in some 20 million euros of pure profit to help them in the in the market. Now, Arsenal fans, will you be okay with that? For United to obviously facilitate, what we call the bringing in through of your player that will obviously come and hurt you. Will you obviously support it? You understand? Will you obviously support it? Will you support it? Because out of the money you pay, 20 million euros will go to the pocket of Man United in there for you. But you face competition from Roberto De Zerbi, a manager that went ahead to obviously sign him from a side known as Man United and took him to Marseille. And his 2 seasons at Marseille have been really very, very good in there for you. And 2024-2025, 34 games, 21 goals and 5 assists. And then he played in 2025, 2026, 32 games, 16 goals and 7 assists and 4 yellow cards. Then UEFA Champions League last season, he played 8 games and scored 3 goals and put out 1 assist, meaning that he has 20 season goals and 8 assists, close to a 30 goal involvement. To me, that is not a bad return for a player known as Mason Greenwood. And I think Arsenal has all the reasons to obviously raise up their hand to obviously get him in. But Roberto De Zerbi might be a key factor and will be like, we are obviously going to sign you and we want to bring you in here, because at Tottenham Hotspur, I think they lack a player like Mason Greenwood, especially off the left. On the right attacking side of the midfield, that's what I meant. Kulusevski is grown, but if at all you bring in Mason Greenwood, I tell you, you'll obviously have gone to upgrade your attack, because Kudus is one of those that I think will be played in the midfield. You understand? So, we wait and see which side of North London will Mason Greenwood go to. That is it. And I'll be waiting for your reactions in the comment section below. The people watching in through, please tell me your thoughts. Do you think Arsenal needs Mason Greenwood? For me, I do believe that they need him. Provided they won't really get bothered with his past of beating up his woman, but I think that is in the past. And I think Arsenal is trying to do what United would have gone ahead to do. And what is that? United would have gone ahead, obviously put out a very huge defense in for the player and see him really getting in here. You understand? But Morocco is in. They are playing against Scotland. You understand? Now, I know all eyes are onto this youngster who goes by names of Ayoub Bouadi. And as we speak right now, Morocco has gone ahead to obviously score their first goals through Saibari. Saibari is one of those players that has gone ahead to obviously sign for a side known as what is it? Bayern Munich. And I think this is one of the fastest goals that has gone ahead to obviously get scored in the World Cup, because it's in the 2nd minute that this ball has gone ahead to cross the line. You understand? And it's Saibari in there for you. I'm still waiting to see who went ahead to release him, because it was really one of those line-breaking passes, and he really went ahead to make a very good run, and Scotland is trailing by 1-0. So that is the World Cup for you. And Morocco, a team that went ahead to obviously draw with Brazil, is facing Scotland right now. And later on, Brazil will be coming in through to play against Haiti, who we can call the weakest opponent in this group. So wait and see how things really pan out. Brahim Diaz in, Kien Tierney in, Scott McTominay in, Ibrahim Diaz in, and many others, Mazarawi, Ashraf Hakimi. We wait to see how things will pan out. I'm out.